wants to do a toast? The king of the Moldova, not an American.
I wish that I could wake up with amnesia and forget about the stupid little things. So, dudes, welcome back to the #1 YouTube channel in the entire world.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry, what?
The #1 YouTube channel in the entire world.
Shit, I'm impressed.
Today's a very special video because we are going to be diving balls deep into the relationship between Andrei, Elizabeth, and Elizabeth's brother Charlie, because they have a little trifecta going on. In the most recent episode of the show, Andrei came clean about his
Dark past with
the crooked Moldovian police department. Andrei tells Elizabeth and her family that he didn't want to be corrupted by the dirty cops in Moldova, so that's why he left, because he was an innocent bystander of the corruption in the country. Make sure you stay until the end of this video because we're going to be finding out whether that is true or false, Andrei. We are diving balls deep into your police record. Investigator Yourwetsock is on this case, buddy. 9-Day Fiancé viewers across the world were shocked, horrified, and turned on by the fact that Andrei and Charlie had a huge fight. Charlie interjected during Andrei and Elizabeth's wedding, took the mic, and called out Andrei, and next thing you know, they went to go fight outside. Fight or make out, I don't know. Sometimes Andrei gives some pretty sus looks to Charlie, so Charlie, how could you ruin my wedding? I'm going to beat you up. The impressions are getting better. Could you guys tell that I wasn't Andrei?
That was a fairly good impersonation of...
Okay, that's enough talky. I'm a little bit of a chatty Cathy. Let's pick up from where we left off with this couple. Andrei had an explosive argument with Charlie and the whole family at the dinner table. Next thing you know, he apologizes next day to Elizabeth profusely and is like, Libby, I'm so sorry I fought with your brother. Please don't call up for a second wedding.
That way, I've never seen that look in your eyes before. You were so enraged.
Sorry, Lib.
Sorry, Lib. Okay.
Well, what do you know? We got flip-flop Elizabeth that's mad at Andrei and not her brother Charlie when he was just as guilty for starting the whole argument at the dinner table. Your family was way out of line. But Andrei even apologized. He said sorry.
You're just like apologizing because I have to lead you to apologize. That's not sincere.
I said I'm sorry.
What do you want from me?
I don't know what more Elizabeth wants. It's already a huge accomplishment getting an I'm sorry from an Eastern European man. I don't know what she really wants. I think she just really loves the drama and stirring the pot and playing both sides of the argument. We can see that by how she's like, Charlie, you're out of line, say sorry. And then she'll go over to Andrei. Andrei, you're out of line, say sorry. How could you diss my family? She just loves pinning up her family and Andrei against each other and feeding off the drama and getting money from her daddy.
Hey, Daddy, I want a golden goose.
I think it's pretty ironic that the first season with them, Andrei's the bad guy in America because he's a lazy bum. We all know that. But the minute we get to Moldova, everyone's like, wow, Elizabeth's family sucks. So now they're the bad guy this season. I just think it's funny how all the public opinion flip-flops. But I think we can all come together and say they all are kind of shit.
Regardless, you need to apologize to my family.
I'm gonna apologize, maybe.
So before we get to the drama, let's look at that magical moment when the families come together and actually do a fun activity. This is the first time I've seen them do a fun activity for their segment. They go out to stomp grapes and make wine. So as Andrei is working the machine and smashing the grapes,
that's what she said.
He turns to Elizabeth's father and says, I know you're not used to working, but it's a bit of work, a bit of physical work.
But this is how you do it and you have fun. Jack, come here. I know you're not used to working, but...
Elizabeth's father responds by laughing and saying, haha, no, I'm pretty sure it's the other way around. I find it ironic that Andrei said to Elizabeth's father that you're not used to working. Meanwhile, Andrei literally sponges off Elizabeth's father. You think at age 33 you would want to have financial independence for you and your family and not have to sponge off your father-in-law, but not Andrei, not our boy Andrei. But hey, you know Andrei's motto, play hard, play hard.
Drink to that.
In this particular scene, Elizabeth and her whole family seem somewhat okay. They don't seem as cringe as all the other clips because they're all having a good time. They take off their shoes at one point and they all stomp grapes. You also see Charlie and Andrei squash their beef by squashing grapes barefooted together. And
see what I did then?
They look like they're having a really fun time. So all is going well, and then at the end of the clip, Andrei reveals to the camera and everybody watching that he's only doing this because he wants things to be peaceful until the wedding. So until Elizabeth's father pays for his second wedding.
Thought you are my daddy.
Because for some ungodly reason, this couple gets two weddings. You know, most people are happy to pay for one, especially during a global pandemic, and everyone had to cancel their wedding, myself included.
Like, you put me in such an uncomfortable situation. Like, you know I'm not happy.
Aw, my bad.
But it's so nice to see a couple like this get 2 weddings at Elizabeth's father's expense. Wow, what a couple. Now it's time to talk about Andrei's past with the Moldovian police department. It turns out that Elizabeth's family was doing some snooping around. Much like a ragtag bunch of Mystery Inc., they went around and asked Andrei's friend Marcel what happened with Andrei and him on the Moldovian police force. And it turns out that they both had to leave due to corruption, due to the country's corruption and older officers. Marcel explained that a lot of the other officers wanted us to do things we weren't comfortable with, and they would ruin our lives and threaten us if we didn't do those things, so we walked away. Next thing you know, Elizabeth's family goes over to Andrei and confronts him about it. Now let's look at that magical moment together when Elizabeth's family confronts Andrei about his past with the Moldovian police department.
The corruption here makes people do a lot of stuff, okay? Sure. So when you're in a police, you have to close eyes sometimes and you have to go along, okay? You're working for somebody and he's higher rank, so you have to execute the orders, and if you say no, they're gonna try to set you up.
So when Andrei first said this, I and a lot of other people believed Andrei because this story does add up. This is gonna be like a drunk history session. I'm gonna explain the current situation very briefly because I don't want to go too into it. I'm not like drunk history, I'm not a history channel.
The red flag came down over the Kremlin tonight as President Gorbachev resigned and brought to an end 7 decades of communist rule in the Soviet Union.
So basically what happened was it created a power vacuum when all the countries separated from Russia. Next thing you know, a lot of corrupt politicians ended up infiltrating countries that still remain loyal to the Communist Party in Russia. In simple terms, let's think about it like this. In each country in Eastern Europe, per country, there's about 5 families that run the country. So one family will own the media, one family will own the police department, one family will own blah, 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 blah. You get the idea, right? Like 5 families that run the country. All the people are like billionaires or hundreds of millionaires. They don't even live in the country. They'll live in like Dubai, or they'll live in Monte Carlo. They'll live where all the rich people are, and they have houses everywhere in Europe. Everybody in Eastern Europe will back up what I'm saying. That's why you have so many people protesting all around Eastern Europe, because the younger generation is really upset, especially when there's not a lot of job opportunities and people have to go to other countries to earn higher wages, yet you have corrupt politicians stealing all the money from the country. So knowing this information, a lot of people believe Andrei's story. It does add up. The only question is, was he fleeing the corruption, or was he a corrupt cop that got caught and had to leave the country because of that?
That is the question.
Corruption in my country is really, really bad. Basically, when you're going into police force as a new person, you have to prove yourself, and people that are higher in rank, they're asking you to do things that are not really, like correct.
I also think it's incredibly frustrating to see Andrei be interrogated like this by Elizabeth's family when most of her family has records. And this isn't new information, it's all Googleable. So there's a lot of stuff there, and I think everyone's more interested in Elizabeth's family's record. And it makes it more ironic that they've been so adamant about finding out all the details about Andrei's past. What's that saying? It's like the pot calling the kettle black. I heard that a lot when I was living in the UK.
At some point, you have to make a decision to play the game and break the law, or to get out, and I chose to get out.
What if you would have stayed instead of left? What would have happened?
I don't know. Maybe I would ride a $100,000 car, or maybe I was in jail.
So do I think this lazy guy is so morally upright that he wouldn't do anything corrupt while on the police force? No, I really don't. Maybe Marcel, because he seems like good vibes. So when Andrei tells Elizabeth's whole family about his past, the family seems like they level with him, and Chuck even says something on the lines of, I could see how somebody could be corrupted if they lived here. I'm kind of happy it played out like this. It would be hypocritical of them to be like, wow, I still don't know about him. What if he's a criminal? So for once on the show, Elizabeth's family seems pretty understanding about Andrei's situation and the corruption that he was facing while working as a police officer in Moldova. Elizabeth has noticed that her family's backing off the situation, so she takes it upon herself to start some drama the good old-fashioned way. She sucks in her nose, makes that farty face, and is like, I just can't even believe it.
Don't act like you don't know about it.
You said you went to Ireland to make more money. You didn't say you were forced out of Moldova.
What do you want, Lib? I told you.
What do you know? Flip-flop Elizabeth leaves her husband hanging again, and she talks about how she doesn't trust him anymore. And where's the circle of trust, Andrei? I should know everything about you. Dude, she leaves him hanging every time. It turns into like a 4v1 situation for Andrei, and Andrei's just making this face because he's genuinely confused. I think he actually told her, and she's just a traitor.
I thought you were my friend.
So it is the magical day before the wedding, and Andrei and Elizabeth still have to talk about his past. So they talk about his past together on the balcony, and Elizabeth is like, Andrei, how could you lie to me? How could you do this? What really happened? You need to tell me right now. If I'm gonna marry you a second time, you need to tell me about your past, or else I'm not gonna marry you a second time.
They asked me to do some stuff. I didn't do it. I refused to do it. I left. I had to leave the country because if I didn't leave, they will set me up and I will lose now everything. Not only my job, I will lose my life.
This happens all around Eastern Europe, so this stuff really happens. If this really happened to him, do I think that he would be talking about it on national TV in front of everybody? No, I don't think that. I mean, let's be real and put on our thinking caps here. Even if you settled the beef with those people that you were fleeing the country from, it's still not good to shed light on it and talk about it in front of millions of people, especially Americans. The way Andrei's talking about this, like he wants to tell everybody on TV that he was a mob boss or something, or he was like running away from the mafia and he was a good guy, like painting the picture like he was a good guy. Dude, a lot of stuff doesn't add up. First of all, I don't think this guy's intelligent enough to be a detective. There's so many holes in this guy's story, but hey, maybe I'm just a little bit skeptical. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments.
How are you able to even be here right now and like walk around in public?
Because I settled it down. I left.
Before? Like, that's not so bad. You could have just told me that from the beginning.
That bitch crazy.
This girl is getting so turned on by this story, and Andrei is so full of shit. Andrei, I'll say it right now for you. You don't have the work ethic to be in the mob, okay? You don't. Like, this guy doesn't have the work ethic to work a job. He doesn't have the work ethic to be in the mob. If anything, he f***ed up a job, and then he left because he was a f***up.
That sounds right.
Sorry for not telling you. Sorry, but it may hurt you right now. I regret my past. I didn't want to lose you.
I didn't tell you because I didn't want to lose you. It sounds like Andrei watched Spy Kids before he started talking to Elizabeth. Are you kidding me with this guy? If I told you, I'd have to kill you. You were never a spy, Andrei. Stop.
But I'm clean. I'm not mob member. I'm not I'm not nobody to be afraid of.
Yeah, Andrei, we know you're not a mob member. We know you're not a former KGB agent. And we know that not getting a job in America isn't part of a secret mission for whatever organization in your imagination that you belong to. So at the end, Andrei and Elizabeth kiss and make up, and she's like, you have to always be honest with me, Andrei. You have to trust me. So they kiss and make up. That's great news, man. You know, this is everybody's favorite couple, so I'm happy to see that. Now we have a wedding to get on to, guys. Elizabeth and Andrei's wedding. Oh my God, what a beautiful spectacle. Now we can see where all the money went. So before the reception, they got married in a church, and it was actually really nice to see. All the churches in Eastern Europe kind of look the same to me. A lot of them were donated from the rich czars in Russia. They're very beautiful. There's gold in there. So before we get into the wedding, let's see that magical moment when Andrei confronts his friend about why he told Elizabeth's family about the police department and all the information. This scene kind of reminds me of the Real Bros of Simi Valley, but I guess in this case, it's the Real Bros of Moldova Valley.
What happened the other day was, you know what happened with me? Charlie, Chuck, Jen, they called me out. Yeah.
So I'm going to summarize this because it's really slow. Basically, Andrei says, Marcel, what did you say to them? Marcel says what he said to them, and then he's like, okay, well, they're not going to know shit about me, dude. I won't let them know anything about me. They're never going to figure out what really happened, what we really did. Which makes me think, it makes everybody think that the story he made up is BS. Well, I shouldn't say BS. I think there's some truth to what he said, but I also think he left a lot of stuff out. And from him saying this, they're never gonna know what really happened. I'm never gonna let them find out what really happened. Means that there's still a lot of holes in this dude's past, and he doesn't feel comfortable enough to tell them. And you know what, honestly, from the way Elizabeth's family's been acting since they touched down in his home country, I really don't blame him. I wouldn't want them to know. I mean, let's be real, guys. Elizabeth's entire family is a family of snoopy, ignorant American Karens.
You can trust me as a brother, you know, you can trust him as a best friend, and we are always backing up you.
That's what I want to hear. Cheers.
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 I don't really know why they put subtitles here. They're speaking in English, so I can understand what they're saying. I think everyone can. I feel like it's kind of annoying that the producers probably asked them to speak in English and not their native tongue. It's all three of them. I mean, they might as well speak their native tongue when they're together.
Oh, look at him, man.
What is this?
So after Andrei talks about everything with his boys, he takes off his shirt, and his brother and best friend tease him that he's gained weight, and if he keeps it up, he's gonna look like Charlie, which I thought was pretty funny. When I was a kid, I would hang out with my Italian relatives, and they would call me Porcellino, which is like piggy in Italian. Those dudes. But fair play, I used to be kind of a porker when I was a kid, so it's all good, whatever. Now the moment you've all been waiting for, ladies and gentlemen, let's look at the magical wedding in Moldova that Andrei and Elizabeth had using all of her dad's money.
This is when the grand ball happens.
Yes. Entertainment at Moldovan weddings are always a big thing. We have nice music.
Okay, so we can say whatever we want about Andrei and Libby, but the wedding looked really nice. There were dancers, there was a whole feast, all the food looked really good, the dancers did a great job, the music sounded lovely, and I think everyone can come together and say the father paid for a great wedding. My lovely fiancé Blair Walnuts and I went to a Vienna ball one time, and that's what it kind of reminded me of, just how elegant everything was. The dancers were doing a little waltz situation. So there's this magical moment where they play epic music, and Andrei and Elizabeth walk out, they look great, everybody's clapping, having a good time. You see Chuck, her father, have a glowing expression on his face. He's so proud that he could pay for such a nice wedding for his daughter. I'm sure the wedding cost somewhere around like $10,000. I said in my video with the Celeb Talk guy it was under $40,000, but that was just to trigger people and get a lot of people commenting about it. I'm sure the wedding cost around $10,000. In America, this wedding would cost a lot more. But the funny thing is, you see Chuck's face, he's glowing, he's excited for his daughter, and he's a sport because he paid for the whole thing. But if you look at Elizabeth's siblings' faces, Charlie and Jen are very jealous. That's what it seems like. You can tell from their faces that they wish they got a second wedding. And why does my dad have to pay for this wedding? I get that. I totally agree with you guys, and I understand their frustrations. But that's between your dad and Elizabeth. That's not between you guys. Jen starts off by saying Andrei and Libby's wedding was so over the top.
The way that they were describing this reception was that it was going to kind of be low-key and everything. And then we walk in and it's like, oh, like this is where all the money is gone that my dad has given them.
I think we can all summarize Jen in one sentence. Jen is the girl that peaked in high school. She's also the girl that only seasons her food with salt. She's very boring, and she's extremely jealous of the relationship her little sister has with her father.
Getting pretty good, son. Go ahead, shoot till you miss.
So throughout the reception, you see all the Moldovians are having a great time. Everyone's drinking and laughing and enjoying the festive event that this is. And a lot of people are actually coming up and donating money. That's actually customary. A lot of countries in Eastern Europe, when there's weddings, a lot of people will come up and donate money to the bride and groom. So a lot of times the weddings kind of pay for themselves. But there is one individual that is not having a good time at this wedding, and he is slowly but surely self-destructing, and that is Elizabeth's brother, Charlie. Elizabeth's brother is insanely jealous about this wedding, and he takes it upon himself to stand up for his family in his own way.
I'm unstoppable.
You really have major problems inside your brain, my friend.
Learn the language, dog.
Maybe I will do that after I go and eat these ways and make them in my shit.
Yeah, well, hopefully when you go out there, you'll find your green card and surf on the fuck home.
Elizabeth's brother Charlie is slowly self-destructing. He is chugging champagne, and he's slowly but surely turning into Kenny Powers.
Superstar!
He's heckling Andreis, being like, yeah, King of Moldova, you ain't shit in America. I'm a little bit split with Charlie's behavior because the angel on my shoulder is like, wow, man, time and place. And this is not the time during a joyous occasion, during a wedding. This is not the time to self-destruct and ruin your sister's wedding, even though you have a problem with Andrei, even though we borrow money from your dad. And you shouldn't involve yourself in this dysfunctional relationship that your father has with Andrei and Elizabeth. But the devil on my shoulder is saying, this pussy shit, let's start a little mayhem. Let's go crazy, let's ruin this wedding. So yeah, I'm torn. Let's see what happens together as a family.
Chill a little bit, because I don't want to, no fighting tonight, man. I'm not fighting. Just chill a little bit. Like, I'll speak my piece.
That's why you're swearing at him?
I will continue to swear.
I think the wedding's expensive, and it's like, my dad has like 7 kids. Did you do this for every other kid? No, you didn't. Why are you doing this for him? Like, why? Why?
It's like, my dad has 7 kids, and like, did my dad do this for every kid? Nah, dude. And he's doing it for this punk Andrei, and it's just like, yo, dad, what the f, you know? And I'm just a little shocked, shook, shaken that I haven't got a second wedding.
Bună seara la toți invitații. Suntem cu ocazia căsătoriei și, Andrei, vă doresc multă sănătate, casă de piatră ca toată lumea. Vrem să le aducem o mică contribuție financiară. Și mă duc
So Andrei's parents make a great toast. They donate some money to the lovely couple. And then Chuck starts ringing the bell and is like, the Americans would like to propose a toast also. Which, I mean, Chuck, buddy, it's only right that you get a toast. I mean, you're paying for the whole thing. You're paying. Don't be shy. Don't be shy, sister. Go up and give a speech, sister. Don't be shy. You're paying for the whole thing.
Hi, sisters! America wants to do a toast. So I would like to say thank you for inviting me to your country. I feel welcome here. Everybody's been very nice. Andrei, you're our family now, and we love you.
Wow, I didn't expect that at all.
I love the positivity that Chuck has about the situation. I can tell that he's a proud dad, and he's proud about the wedding that he paid for. It turned out great. It's a beautiful occasion. And then what do you know what happens? Elizabeth's brother Charlie, aka Kenny fucking Powers, grabs the mic and starts letting the insults fly, baby.
Don't come to America and try to live up my dad. Don't ask my dad for okay?
Okay, just give it to the next one.
No. Come to America and
take the microphone.
Earn your okay?
All right. Woo!
Hey, dude, don't come back to America. My dad pays for all your shit, and I just think that you should probably pay for your own shit. And don't be coming back to America, to the greatest nation in the entire world, with this whack-ass attitude. You know, we're all about, like, baseball and capitalism, dog. And if you keep coming out here with this lame-ass shit, you're gonna get clapped up. I'm gonna clap your cheeks, dog. I'm gonna get up in there. Full-on fist action.
I love it. Elizabeth's trying to save it by going, all right, woo, yeah, next speech. Oh, this isn't awkward. My brother isn't ruining my wedding. I love the chaos, Charlie. I love it. Time and place, she's totally in the wrong. I completely agree. But don't you just love to see the chaos? It's like we always say in the greatest state in the entire world, Texas, if there's not at least one fight at your wedding, it was a boring ass wedding. So Charlie says his piece and clowns Andrei's ass in front of his family and friends and everybody that he loves and holds dear in his life. And it's hilarious and everybody loves it. Even though Charlie's in the wrong, a lot of people are happy, called him out. And you know what the best part is? Charlie starts dancing with everybody and they're doing like their own version of the horo or something, and they're in a circle dancing. He's drinking champagne, feeling himself, having the good time. Next thing you know, Andrei walks over all heated and remembers that he used to be a bouncer in Ireland and gets a hold of Charlie and drags him out of the wedding. Next thing you know, Charlie and Andrei are fighting outside and they give him the most deadly fistfight brawl. It reminded me of the brawl from Anchorman 3. They're grabbing a whole bunch of stuff. One of the dudes has a laser beam cannon and they start hitting each other. Every time Andrei and Charlie almost come to blows, it looks like Andrei is about to blow Charlie, if you know what I mean. Like this look, it does not look like you're about to fight somebody. It looks like, hey dude, you got something on your lip. Let me get that for you. That's what that look looks like. I think Andrei, Charlie, and Elizabeth have a weird love triangle, and low key there might be some
I'm gonna pay for a blowjob and I gotta pay for a goddamn hotel room too? Well, that just seems like I'm spending too much money for nothing.
Well, guys, that's the video. I'm going to be making updates about this couple because they're just awful, aren't they? Comment below, subscribe, let your friend. Follow me on Twitch and on Instagram right now.